I want to talk a little bit about my background, and then that will segue into the work I'm doing in Edmonton. So I'm from Wisconsin, and I have my MBA, and I was a faculty member at Viterbo University in the business school, teaching organizational behavior and management. And one of my students said, Leanne, there's this amazing nonprofit in a greenhouse helping elderly people, and they're really struggling. They need your help. Could you come and do some strategic planning or board development? And I said, sure, I'd be happy to do what I can. And before I knew it, I was actually president of the organization. You know how that goes. And there's a great picture. We got a $25,000 grant immediately to do a feasibility study to see if an urban agriculture center in our community was even possible. And what ended up coming of that was, so that last picture, 100-year-old greenhouse, mice, bugs, you name it, leaks, $13,000 a month to heat. Ended up forming a collaboration with Mayo Health Systems, our equivalent of NAIT, your NAIT, our NAIT, and a community foundation. And then I was president of this Grassroots nonprofit. And the result after 4 years was this is an educational, sustainably built greenhouse in the heart of the city that is co-governed by these entities. So it's really innovative. And then also, as part of that, what I saw that was needed in the community, like Edmonton, like we're seeing here this weekend, there are phenomenal activities happening around local foods. And we're also seeing that the extent of the system, all the aspects of the system, and how they're all needed to interrelate. So I saw that and brought a different group of collaborators together, like the government, and so the county public health, the high schools, community gardens, food pantries. So anyone involved in feeding people or growing food, we brought together and held a number of community stakeholder meetings to create a common vision for our community. And from that, the Coulee Food System Coalition was created, and we received a $100,000 grant, and we received this award. And I'm just saying this to highlight that experience over 4 years, besides igniting my passion for local foods, because we're all here because we know the difference that a strong local food system can make in society as a whole. I saw that from my perspective, what it really takes to make that happen is working at the intersections. For me, those intersections are private or for-profit, civic, government, small, large. Like, I think the real opportunities for change can happen when we have people who act as brokers between these places and create connections and nurture connections in a positive way. I love what Wayne Roberts said yesterday about that our approach is really important. Now you can get so much done by pounding your fist on the table, but is that really creating a sustainable foundation for the relationships that are important to transforming our food system? So, from that work, I decided to go back and get my PhD. I got funding here at the University of Alberta in their strategic management program, so their business school. And actually, I didn't know I could study food systems there. So I actually came in to study something different that I was interested in, attachment theory. It's interesting, but 2 years into it, I wrote a research proposal on local food systems, and the professor of that course said, this is phenomenal. And then he and another scholar approached me and said, we want to become your supervisors. We think you're doing some great work. And so from that, I got an internship here in Edmonton, working with MyTax, and that's what I'm here to talk about, is the Alberta Flavour Learning Lab, which is a really unique innovation, bringing institutional buyers together. And I have a list of them. So here's some of the institutions that are working together. Urban's Farm, Cisco, Gordon Food Service. You can read the rest, but think about for a moment the dollar power this represents at the annual dollar power. And so this is a community of practice, which means that no one's leading this. There's not a hierarchical structure like a president and a vice president. This is a group of people coming together with the common goal of how do we get more local foods on more local plates in Edmonton. So it is really exciting. And it's recognized that one of the best ways to do that, to affect social change, is to learn from one another. It's like what's happening this weekend. It's the recognition that each of us has a piece of the puzzle. And when we put those pieces together, what starts to emerge is something really inspiring. It's this co-created vision. And this group was created by Jessie Rady's, many of you know her, and Mary Becky, who's one of the co-coordinators of this forum. And the purpose of the Alberta Flavour Learning Lab is to get more local foods on more local plates, to scale up our food system. Recent research shows that there's lots of amazing activities happening with local foods, but the level to which those activities need to rise to have the impact that they need to have is maybe this is too strong of a word, but maybe only achievable as local foods reach this institutional procurement level. For those of you who were there on Friday night, there was talk about, well, is there a minimum local procurement policy for our city? So that's getting at the heart of what this is about. Change will happen. It seems like greater change, greater systemic change will happen as local foods reaches that level. So the accomplishments of the group, or the goals I should say, are to create a baseline. How much local food is being purchased now? What local food is available here? And then for 5 years to do annual evaluations to see whether we're moving the needle or not in the right direction. Also, the group took on conducting an economic impact report. That's a very powerful piece of information that says, what is the impact on our local economy of more local foods being purchased here? How many more jobs does that create? So, I mean, there's many aspects of economic impact that local food purchases can have, but that is a powerful piece of information. You can imagine that can help drive policy. It's one language, and I really want to stress that, because I think what we're recognizing, it's really important, is that it's easy to get focused on the economics. And I think, maybe I heard that a little bit Friday night when the mayors were presenting. There wasn't just that, but I think there is a risk of that, of as this gets scaled up, of moving too much just towards the economic benefits. So I think we really, although this is powerful, I think we always want to keep that in perspective. And so then the other goal of the group is a marketing toolkit. So this group started 2.5 years ago, and some of the successes so far were to receive more funding for 2 PhD students. I'm one of them. I'm the facilitator and animator of the group. And then another PhD student who's creating an online community. The group did local food tours. So it's taking this group of institutional procurers around to farms. It's actually quite surprising what can happen when you get your food buyers who usually sit in their office in front of their computers, when you get them out into, say, a sauce maker in Edmonton, and talking with the owner of this sauce and dressings maker and realizing capacity, say, for privately branded sauces. So like a Shaw branded unique salad dressing. So these connections wouldn't be made unless we had these food buyers connected directly with these food growers and producers. Alberta Flavour marketing materials for all of the members to use, as draws attention to just the Alberta Flavour and the idea of buying locally. The economic impact report, a draft of it was just completed, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. What's also been great is this cohesiveness and engagement that we've seen. Some of the members in this learning lab were our competitors, and at first, I wasn't there at first, but I interviewed each of them separately for my research, and they said, you know, we thought this was a good idea. We all care about local foods and getting more local foods on more local plates, but they put it this way. I heard this story a lot. At our first meeting, someone said, okay, I'll be here, but I'm not telling you what I pay for carrots. So it was kind of like that ethos was in the room, because that's their competitive advantage, is what they're buying, where they're buying it from, and how much they're paying for it. But actually what's happened is the level of engagement has increased. We're moving our meetings actually from 6 times a year, 2 hours each, to every 6 weeks for 3 hours. We did our 2017 strategic planning, and the goals that came out of that were like quick. Like everyone agreed, this is what we're about, this is what we need to do, let's move on to the actions. And then as we moved on to the actions, what was possible within this group, it was recognized that we need more time, we need to get together more to get this done. So just to give you an idea of kind of the level of engagement, and the members of this group saying, we can do this, let's get this done. So challenges, though, I would say is as all these members are busy and they've got their own jobs, and they do see this as part of their work. At first they saw it as separate, almost like there's voluntary civic engagement, but now they're recognizing that this is actually what's helping them achieve their goals in their own organizations. And I think from my perspective, one of the maybe challenges to be aware of is that there isn't so much of an emphasis on the economic aspect. But I get that's a reality of institutional procurement. Everyone's on tight budgets. We're in a challenging economy. But my hope is that that aspects of environmental, social justice, and animal treatment would also really stay high on the list of priorities. So what's the future of this group? I talked about how they came to goals really quickly. These are the 3 goals that they came to. Aggregate demand. So it's recognized that in a push-pull economy, this group is focused on the pull. How do we pull demand? Or, producers are focused on the push. So this group is focused on the pull. It's hard to have clear demarcations or boundaries around what the work of this group should be, though, because part of the issue is supply. A big issue, a big barrier is supply. So scaling up farmers and producers so that they can meet the food safety regulations, so that they can meet the distribution requirements. But then I also see this tension between that and another risk is of fitting local foods into the big machine instead of changing the big machine to meet smaller, medium-sized producers. So I think that's really something to be wrestled with, very realistically. So there's aggregate demand. The economic impact report provided some low-hanging fruit. It showed that there's a great amount of local produce that is available at a price that is less than is being purchased non-locally. So it's like available. So it's just a matter of habit, really. It's a matter of you've got these systems in place, you've got these orders, you're used to hitting this button and ordering it again, and it's just a matter of changing that. So I really anticipate moving the needle greatly over the next year, just based on the information that was garnered from this economic impact report. Storytelling, we recognize, is so important. Internally, having these meetings where we've restructured the meetings so that each of the members will be sharing in greater detail stories about what they're doing. Like AHS worked with a bakery that produced banana bread, and the owner didn't know how he could grow more. He's busy, right, with his small bakery, and AHS connected him to the resources to be able to grow so that now he's one of AHS's providers. So great. External storytelling. I haven't heard of such a group of institutional procurers coming together anywhere. And so I think it's quite unique. So I think the storytelling needs to happen externally. Also, I think we need to bring external storytellers in, because when you're buying for an institution, it's very easy for your world to be, just so, for your frame to be just so. And I think it's important through this group that we bring in, we have the City of Edmonton come in and talk about their fresh plan. I think we could have other experts come in and talk about the food system as a whole, food security, food waste. And then finally, the third goal is measurement and evaluation, and that's just always going to be an important goal.